The Council exiled humanity. They didn't expect us to unite the Fringe. Every species in the galaxy had a voice here, from the tall, thin Valons with their silver skin to the rock-like Tarak with their slow, rumbling speech. And at the center of it all, a single seat was left empty, reserved for humanity. For decades, humans had tried to join the Council. They had sent diplomats, scientists, and soldiers. They had shown their willingness to follow rules, to cooperate, and to contribute. Yet time and again, they had been met with suspicion. Humans were seen as reckless, violent, and unpredictable. They were outsiders in a galaxy that prided itself on order. Today was the final vote. Earth's envoy, Alex Harper, stood in the waiting room, feeling the tension in his chest. He had traveled light years to be here, representing the billions of humans who hoped for recognition, for a place in the larger galaxy. Beside him, Ambassador Leela Grant checked her datapad nervously, her brown hair falling over her face. Leela had grown up in the shadow of the Council, studying its laws, its politics, and its endless games of power. She believed in diplomacy, in reason, but even she could feel the cold shadow of doubt pressing down on them. Inside the chamber, the Council members took their seats, their eyes glimmering as they activated the vote. Alex watched the glowing lights, each representing a vote for or against humanity's membership. For a moment, hope swelled inside him. Perhaps the galaxy was ready. Perhaps they would see humans not as chaotic children but as capable partners. The first votes came in. A few species voted yes, nodding politely. A few others abstained, unsure of what to do. But then the pattern became clear. The majority voted against humanity. The Council murmured quietly, their voices like a low hum of wind through metal towers. Alex's stomach dropped as the numbers flashed on the main display. The vote had failed. Humanity was officially exiled. The word exile echoed in his mind, sharp and cold. Exiled. Not punished, not warned. Exiled. As if humans were dangerous pests to be pushed aside, allowed to survive only at the edges of the galaxy. Alex could feel the weight of it pressing down on him, heavier than any gravity he had felt on 1,000 worlds. When the session ended, humans were escorted out. Alex walked through the hallways, feeling the eyes of hundreds of species watching him. Some were curious, some indifferent, some openly hostile. He clenched his fists and forced himself to breathe. He could not let despair take over. Not now, not ever. Outside, the Council's fleet glimmered in orbit around the central world. Ships of every design floated in formation, a silent warning. Humans were to stay away from the core systems, away from Council-controlled space, and away from any planet deemed important. Any human caught beyond the borders would be met with force. It was clear, simple, and absolute. Back on Earth, the news spread like wildfire. Holofeeds showed the vote results. People gathered in squares and streets, staring at giant screens, waiting for explanations. Many were angry, many were scared. But Alex and his team knew that fear would not help anyone. They needed action, not despair. Exile doesn't mean the end, Alex said, pacing in a room crowded with leaders from Earth's military and civilian sectors. It means we start over, we start somewhere else. We build where they cannot touch us. Somewhere else, Leela asked, frowning. Where? They've mapped every habitable system in the galaxy. There is nowhere safe. Alex shook his head. Not nowhere, just places they've ignored, the Fringe. Systems they considered unimportant. Forgotten worlds, planets they left to fend for themselves. That's where we go. That's where we start building something new. The room was silent for a moment. Then voices began to rise, some hopeful, some skeptical. General Marcus Lane, a grizzled veteran with scars on his face and hands that told the story of decades of war, leaned forward. Fringe worlds? You mean planets we've never even surveyed? Planets without proper supply lines or resources? That sounds more like a suicide mission than a plan. Alex met his gaze steadily. Or it's freedom, Out there, they can't control us. They can't dictate how we live, how we fight, how we grow. If we unite the people on those worlds, if we show them what humans can do, the Council will have to notice us. And this time, we won't be asking for permission. Some nodded, slowly warming to his idea. Others still looked doubtful, but the spark was there, small but real. The spark that told humanity it could rise again, even from exile. Within weeks, Alex and his team had set their plan into motion. Small ships left Earth under the guise of exploration, carrying diplomats, engineers, and soldiers. They traveled to fringe systems, places the Council had ignored, planets left to rot or struggle in isolation. They encountered humans who had survived centuries on these worlds, descendants of colonies forgotten long ago. These humans were tough, hardened by hardship, but also wary. Many had learned to trust no one, especially not strangers from Earth. The first stop was Vesper Prime, a desert planet with twin suns that scorched the surface and winds that could rip apart metal. The people there had built cities out of stone and metal scraps, their homes fortified against both the harsh climate and raiders who preyed on the weak. Alex met Mara Fields, a leader who had fought off countless gangs and rogue traders. She looked at Alex and his small group with suspicion. "You want what?" she asked, voice sharp and cold. "You want us to join you, to follow some exile from the Council." "We want to unite," Alex said calmly. "Not under anyone's rule, not as servants. We want to build something new together. Humanity doesn't have to be scattered and weak. We can protect each other. We can thrive." Mara studied him, her eyes narrowing. "And why should we trust you? You've been gone for generations. You've lived under Council rules. You haven't survived here. You don't know what it takes." Alex smiled faintly. "Maybe, but we have something you don't. Numbers, skills, knowledge. And we know the Council fears what humans can do when they are united. Alone, we struggle. Together, we are unstoppable." It took time, but Mara agreed to hear more. Slowly, Alex visited other fringe colonies, Dorn Station, a mining hub on an icy moon, Larkin's Reach, a floating city in the clouds of a gas giant, and countless other isolated worlds. Each place was different. Each people were different. Some were open and hopeful, others cautious and hardened. But Alex and his team were patient. They spoke, they listened, they shared stories of Earth, of the Council, of the exile. And little by little, people began to understand that unity might be their only chance at survival. The work was not easy. There were fights, arguments, betrayals. Some humans tried to take advantage of the newcomers, seeing them as outsiders. Alex had to step in, mediating disputes, proving that the human alliance would only succeed if it was fair and strong. Engineers like Logan Price and diplomats like Leela worked tirelessly, building communications, repairing old ships, and forging agreements between rival colonies. Every success, no matter how small, gave the humans hope. As the alliance grew, so did their strength. Ships were repaired, old weapons upgraded, and new technology tested. Humans began training together, sharing skills that no single colony could have achieved alone. Pilots practiced maneuvers, soldiers drilled in coordinated tactics, and scientists shared knowledge that pushed the boundaries of what was possible. The exiled humans were not helpless. They were learning to become formidable, to take the skills of survival and turn them into power. Even at night, when Alex looked up at the stars, he felt the weight of exile pressing on him. But he also felt hope. Somewhere out there, the Council had made a mistake. They had underestimated humans. They had assumed that exile would weaken them, scatter them, and make them invisible. But humans were already proving them wrong. One evening, on a small outpost overlooking a barren desert, Alex stood with Mara Fields and Kate Miller, a skilled pilot who had joined the Alliance early on. The twin suns of Vesper Prime were setting, painting the sky in shades of red and gold. The wind howled around them, but Alex felt calm. "We've made progress," Mara said, her tone grudging but honest. People are starting to believe in this alliance of yours. Alex nodded. It's only the beginning. We have to keep moving, keep building. The council thinks they've pushed us out. They think they've won. But they've only awakened something they can't control. Kate smiled, her eyes glinting with determination. Then let's make sure they regret underestimating us. Alex looked at the stars and felt a fire ignite inside him. Humanity had been cast out, pushed to the edges of the galaxy, and told it could not belong. But the human spirit was not so easily broken. In the Fringe, in the Forgotten Worlds, in the harsh deserts and frozen moons, humanity was learning to rise again. And when the day came that the Council realized the truth, they would see that exile had only made humans stronger. And for the first time since the vote, Alex allowed himself to smile. Alex Harper had traveled to many worlds since the exile. Each planet was different, each colony unique. Some were harsh and dangerous, like the icy moons of Dorne Station, where winds could cut through even the thickest metal walls. Others were strange and beautiful, like Larkin's Reach, where floating cities drifted among the clouds of a gas giant. But every place had one thing in common: humans surviving alone, cut off from the rest of the galaxy and wary of outsiders. Alex and his team moved carefully. He knew trust could not be forced. He needed to show the people of the Fringe that uniting with Earth was not a trap, not a plan to control them, but a way to survive and grow together. With him traveled Mara Fields, who had become one of his closest allies, and Kate Miller, a pilot whose skill in the skies was unmatched. Leela Grant continued as the diplomat, helping Alex negotiate agreements and explain their vision to the leaders of each colony. Their first task was Vesper Prime. Mara had convinced the desert people to join the alliance, but they were cautious. "We will help you," Mara had said to Alex, "but we will not be controlled. Remember that." Alex had nodded. He respected that. He wanted cooperation, not obedience. From Vesper Prime, they sent messages to other colonies. Some replied quickly, curious to meet the humans from Earth. Others ignored the messages, unwilling to trust strangers. Alex knew they would have to prove themselves. Words alone would not be enough. Their next stop was Dorne Station. It was a cold, metallic moon, covered in ice and rock. Mining colonies sprawled across the surface, connected by tunnels and lift shafts. The people of Dorne Station were hardy, strong, and suspicious. They had survived on their own for generations, fending off pirates and harsh weather alike. Alex and his team landed their ships on a platform near the central settlement. The first person they met was Logan Price, an engineer who had rebuilt old mining equipment and made it last longer than it should have. Logan was tall and thin, with quick hands and sharper eyes. He looked at Alex skeptically. "So, you're the ones from Earth," he said. "Exiled humans, right? You want us to join you?" "Yes," Alex said calmly. "We want to unite the Fringe colonies. Together we can share resources, knowledge, and protection. Alone we are weak. Together we can be strong." Logan shook his head. "I've seen too many people come and promise things. None of them lasted. Why should we trust you?" Alex smiled faintly. "Because we don't just promise, we act. We have ships, skills, and people willing to work for a cause bigger than themselves. If we succeed, everyone on the Fringe will benefit. If we fail, well, then we will have tried, but we will not fail because we are united." Logan studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "All right, I will help, but I expect to see action, not just words." Over the next weeks, Alex and his team worked with Logan and the miners. They repaired ships that had been grounded for years, restored mining equipment, and improved communications between settlements. Slowly, the people of Dorne Station began to believe in the alliance. They practiced coordinated drills, shared intelligence about threats from pirates, and learned to work together with other colonies. From Dorne Station, Alex traveled to Larkin's Reach. The floating city was a marvel, built with old technology humans had scavenged and repurposed. Here they met Olivia Hayes, a trader who controlled supplies across several floating platforms. Olivia was smart, clever, and cautious. She agreed to meet Alex in the central tower, where the wind whistled through open spaces and cables hung like vines. "You want to unite the colonies," Olivia said, arms crossed. "But what about the council? They will not leave us alone. They have fleets, weapons, and rules. You think we can survive their attention?" Alex nodded. "We don't want their permission. We only want to survive and grow stronger. If the council notices us, it will be because we are already powerful, not because we begged for their approval." Olivia considered this. Then she smiled slightly. "You talk like someone who has seen war, have you?" Alex hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, I have, and I have learned that survival requires unity. That is why I am here. The Council exiled humanity, but we will not disappear. We will rise together, and the Fringe will become a network no one can ignore." Olivia agreed to join the alliance, and her traders began sharing supplies, ships, and information with other colonies. Slowly, the scattered human settlements began to see a pattern. Exiled humans were not weak. They were organized, determined, and skilled. Over the next months, Alex traveled from system to system, sometimes by ship, sometimes by small transports, sometimes by borrowed freighters. He met hundreds of humans, each with their own story, each with their own struggles. Some had been abandoned by Earth centuries ago. Some had been born on the Fringe and had never seen the Council. All of them had one thing in common, a desire to survive and protect their families. At every stop, Alex and his team offered help. Engineers repaired ships. Soldiers trained militias. Scientists shared knowledge of weapons, energy systems, and medical techniques. Slowly, distrust turned into cooperation, and cooperation turned into loyalty. One day, Alex arrived on a small jungle planet called Urindor. It was dangerous, with thick forests, poisonous plants, and predators larger than a human. The people here were few, but they had survived by hiding, farming, and avoiding attention. Alex met their leader, a woman named Nora Clark who had grown up hunting in the forests and fighting off intruders. "You expect us to join an alliance?" Nora asked, suspicion in her voice. "We barely survive as it is. Why should we risk our lives for someone else's cause?" Alex looked around at the jungle, the settlements hidden among the trees. "Because survival is easier together. Because the Council may not leave you alone forever. Because if humans unite, we protect each other. Alone, you are vulnerable. Together, we are strong." Nora frowned but nodded slowly. "I will consider it, but if this goes wrong, I will defend my people first." Alex smiled. "I would expect nothing less." While visiting the Fringe colonies, Alex realized something important. Each settlement had its own way of life, its own rules, its own culture. To unite them, he could not force them to abandon what made them unique. Instead, he had to build respect, trust, and shared purpose. It was not easy, but it was the only way. By the time Alex returned to Vesper Prime, the Alliance had grown significantly. Hundreds of ships, repaired and upgraded, were now under human command. Soldiers trained in coordinated tactics, engineers improved weapons and shields, and scientists shared knowledge of energy systems that rivaled the Council's technology. The Fringe colonies were beginning to look like a real force, not scattered settlements struggling to survive. One night on a small platform overlooking the desert, Alex stood with Mara, Kate, and Leela. The twin suns had set, leaving the sky dark except for distant stars. "We've made progress," Mara said, voice quiet but firm. "People are starting to believe in this alliance." "Yes," Alex said, looking at the horizon. "But we have much more work to do. The Council will not ignore us forever. We need to be ready. We need to be strong." Kate leaned on the railing, her eyes scanning the desert below. "Do you really think they will come for us?" "The Council has fleets that could crush us in a day." Alex shook his head. "They may try, but they will not understand us. They will not expect humans to unite the Fringe. They think exile has made us weak. They think we are scattered, but we are learning to work together. And together we will show them what humanity can do. Leela nodded. It is inspiring. Even the people who doubted us are beginning to follow. They see a vision they can believe in. Alex smiled faintly. It is more than vision. It is survival. And one day it will be more than survival. It will be power. The Fringe will be ours, and the Council will have no choice but to notice. The alliance continued to grow. Humans from every corner of the galaxy joined, bringing ships, resources, and skills. Alex and his team visited every settlement, mediating disputes, training leaders, and sharing knowledge. Slowly, the scattered humans began to feel a sense of unity, a sense of purpose. They were no longer alone. They were becoming a force that could not be ignored. And as the months passed, Alex realized something important. The Council had made a mistake. By exiling humanity, they had forced them to rely on each other, to learn, to grow, and to unite. The exile had not weakened humans. It had strengthened them. At the end of one long day, as Alex looked out over a starry sky from a small outpost on a rocky moon, he felt a fire ignite inside him. The Council had cast them out. They had believed humanity would fail, but humans were survivors. And now, united across the Fringe, they were preparing to rise. Alex knew the journey would not be easy. There would be battles, betrayals, and sacrifices. But he also knew that humanity had something the Council could never understand, a spirit that refused to break. And with that spirit, the Fringe would become strong, and the Council would one day regret underestimating them. Months had passed since Alex Harper began uniting the Fringe colonies. Humanity had grown stronger, their scattered settlements forming a network that could share resources, intelligence, and manpower. Ships were repaired, weapons were upgraded, and soldiers were trained in ways that the Council had not expected. What the Council saw as exiled, weak humans were quietly becoming something else, a force no one could ignore. Alex stood on the bridge of a small command ship hovering above the desert planet Vesper Prime. Stars glimmered in the sky, but his mind was focused on the reports coming in from the outer colonies. Scanners had detected Council patrols near the edges of human-controlled space, and scouts had reported heavily armed ships moving through previously quiet systems. The Council had noticed. They were starting to take humans seriously, and Alex knew that meant action was needed. "We've received reports of Council ships near the Veyron Belt," said Kate Miller, leaning over the control panel. Her fingers danced across the controls with practiced skill. 3 cruisers and a destroyer. They are scanning the system, looking for any human presence. Alex nodded. "Good. That means they are reacting. We want them to react. It shows they see us as a threat. Now we need to show them that threat is real." Mara Field, standing beside Alex, crossed her arms. "You mean an attack? Are we ready for that?" Alex turned to her. "Not a full attack. Not yet. A demonstration, something small but precise. Something that tells the Council humans are not weak, that we are united and capable." The plan was simple in idea but complex in execution. Scouts would lead Council ships into a trap, guiding them into a narrow asteroid field where the humans had set up hidden mines and ambush points. The Council's ships were powerful, but they were not used to unconventional tactics. Humans who had survived for centuries on dangerous Fringe worlds had learned to use the environment, the terrain, and ingenuity as their greatest weapons. The operation began at dawn. Human scouts flew quietly ahead of the Council ships, sending false signals and hints of weak targets. The Council fleet took the bait, moving into the asteroid field, confident in their superior firepower. Alex watched from the command ship, his heart steady, but his mind sharp. Every detail mattered. Every move had to be precise. The first Council cruiser entered the field. Sensors lit up with warnings of approaching asteroids. Mines hidden among the rocks detonated, sending shockwaves that disabled shields and damaged engines. The cruiser fired blindly, but the human ships were hidden, waiting for the right moment. "Now," Alex said quietly. The human strike team emerged from the shadows. Ships that had been repaired, upgraded, and tested over months fired with precision. Energy blasts struck Council ships in weak points that scanners could not detect. Explosions lit up the field, and one by one, Council ships began to falter. Kate maneuvered her fighter through the chaos, dodging debris and returning fire. Her movements were almost like a dance, smooth and calculated. "We've got one cruiser down," she reported. "Engines disabled, shields offline." Mara's team took another cruiser from behind, using hidden turrets placed among asteroids. It was not a fair fight by conventional standards, but humans did not fight fair. They used strategy, intelligence, and creativity. The Council fleet had not expected this. Their sensors were disrupted by the asteroid field, their formation broken, and their ships hit by precise attacks they could not predict. The humans moved like a single organism, every ship coordinated with the others. By the time the Council realized what was happening, 2 cruisers were crippled, 1 destroyer had lost its shields, and the fleet was in chaos. "Status report," Alex asked, his voice calm but firm. "We've inflicted heavy damage," said Leela Grant, monitoring communications. "They are retreating, they are trying to regroup, but they don't know where we are. Their fleet is scattered," Alex nodded. "Good, hold position, do not follow them. Let them leave thinking this is only a warning. We want them to fear humans, not to know the full extent of our strength." As the Council fleet withdrew, word spread quickly across the Fringe colonies. The victory was small, tactical, and precise, but its impact was enormous. Humans had demonstrated their ability to fight together, to outsmart a superior force, and to survive where the Council expected them to fail. The scattered settlements that had doubted Alex now looked at him with respect and hope. At Vesper Prime, a Council signal reached the human command. A message flashed on the screen, cold and formal. "Humans are warned. Cease all operations near Council space. Any further actions will be met with force." Alex smiled faintly. "They are afraid," he said. "They finally see us as more than exiles." Mara shook her head. "They are powerful. They have fleets, weapons, and numbers. One mistake and we could lose everything we've built." Alex placed a hand on her shoulder. "That's why we are careful. That's why we fight smart. We will not challenge them blindly. We will show them the power of humans united, step by step." In the days that followed, the humans strengthened their positions. Hidden bases were reinforced, new ships were added to the fleet, and training intensified. Engineers like Logan Price worked tirelessly, upgrading energy shields, weapons, and communication systems. Pilots practiced coordinated maneuvers. Soldiers drilled in tactics that used terrain and strategy rather than brute force. Every colony contributed, every skill counted. Word of the human offensive reached distant Fringe worlds, even those that had not yet joined the Alliance. Traders, scouts, and wandering ships carried the stories of the ambush, of the humans who had fought Council ships and won. Some colonies had been skeptical, thinking Alex's alliance was too small to matter. Now, they began to reconsider. Alex traveled to several of these hesitant worlds personally. On a rocky, windswept moon called Ryloth, he met Commander Ethan Brooks, a former military officer who had survived on his own for decades. Ethan had refused to join the Alliance, believing that humans were too weak to challenge the Council. "Your stories are impressive," Ethan said, arms crossed. "But can you do it again? Can humans really fight against Council fleets and win?" Alex nodded. "We can, and we will, not because we want war, but because we need survival. The Council exiled us, but exile cannot stop us. Humans are not weak, Commander. We adapt, we learn, we unite." Ethan studied Alex carefully, then finally extended his hand. "All right, I will join your alliance, but I expect results, not words. By the time Alex returned to the Central Command at Vesper Prime, the human fleet had grown significantly. Ships from nearly every Fringe colony were now part of the alliance. They were repaired, armed, and trained. The humans had become more than scattered exiles. They were a network of strength, ready to act in coordination against any threat. One evening, Alex stood on the observation deck of his command ship, watching the stars. Mara joined him, her expression thoughtful. "Do you think they will come for us?" she asked quietly. Alex shook his head. "They will not yet. They are cautious now, scared by what we did, but they will try eventually. That is why we must continue to grow, to strengthen, and to be ready. The next time we will not just show our strength, we will strike in a way they cannot ignore." Kate arrived, leaning against the railing. "We've been lucky so far, but can we keep this up? The Council has resources we cannot match." Alex smiled. "We do not need to match them in numbers. We need to match them in strategy, creativity, and unity. That is what they cannot predict. That is what makes humans dangerous." Over the next weeks, the humans carried out more operations, smaller than the first but equally precise. They sabotaged Council supply lines, rescued colonies threatened by pirates, and built secret stations in hidden locations. Each success strengthened the alliance, increased trust among the colonies, and spread fear across Council forces. One day, Leela came to Alex with news. "We've intercepted Council communications. They are discussing humans in a way they never have before. Fear, concern. Even some of their leaders admit they underestimated us." Alex nodded, feeling satisfaction but not pride. "Good. Let them be afraid." That is the first step in understanding that exile does not mean weakness. That is the first step in realizing humans are not to be ignored. As the alliance continued to grow, Alex realized the truth of what he had been saying all along. Humans were not strong because of technology, numbers, or weapons. Humans were strong because they could unite. They could trust each other when trust was rare. They could adapt to any situation. And most importantly, they refused to give up. The Council had cast humanity out, believing exile would weaken them. They had been wrong. Exile had forced humans to rely on each other, to build connections across the Fringe, and to learn how to fight in ways no other species could imagine. Alex looked out at the stars, feeling the fire of determination in his chest. The Council had started to notice, and the humans of the Fringe were ready. They were united, skilled, and growing stronger every day. And when the day came that the Council realized the full extent of humanity's strength, it would be too late. The humans would not just survive. They would rise. The Council had watched humanity's actions for months now. At first, they had dismissed the Fringe colonies as insignificant, nothing more than scattered settlements that could not organize themselves. But the reports from their scouts and intelligence officers told a different story. Humans were uniting, building fleets, and carrying out precise attacks that embarrassed Council forces. What had been considered minor incidents were now seen as coordinated operations. In the Council chambers, the leaders argued. "We cannot ignore them any longer," said High Chancellor Vera, her voice calm but firm. "These humans are no longer isolated. They are organized, and their influence over the Fringe is growing. If we do not act, more colonies will join them, and our control will weaken." Another council member, a tall, blue-skinned being named Tharok, rumbled his agreement. "They have learned tactics we did not teach. They are clever, adaptable, and bold. Our fleets cannot predict their actions. We must respond with overwhelming force, or humanity will become unstoppable." The council voted unanimously. A full fleet would be sent to the Fringe, a show of power meant to crush humans once and for all. They would not negotiate, not reason, and not hesitate. The humans had challenged the council's authority, and authority demanded a response. Alex Harper received the first warnings from scouts stationed near the outer systems. The council fleet was massive, hundreds of ships, including cruisers, destroyers, and battleships. Their movements were deliberate, coordinated, and menacing. For the first time, Alex realized that the humans of the Fringe would face the Council directly. "We knew this day would come," Alex said quietly, pacing on the command deck. "They will come with everything they have." "But they underestimate us. They always underestimate humans." Mara Fields clenched her fists. "They have more ships than we do, more weapons, more firepower. How can we face that?" Alex turned to her. "We do not face them blindly. We fight smart. We fight where they are weak, where their numbers cannot help them. And we fight together." Kate Miller leaned over a holographic display of the Council fleet. "They are moving into the Trask Rift," she said. "It's a dense asteroid field full of unstable rocks and gravity anomalies, perfect for ambushes if we use it right." Alex's eyes narrowed. "Then that is where we make our stand. Prepare the fleet. We will not let them intimidate us. We will show them what humanity can do when united." Over the next days, human ships moved into position. Engineers worked tirelessly, improving shields and weapons. Pilots practiced maneuvers that used the rift's dangers to their advantage. Soldiers drilled in coordination, learning to move quickly and strike decisively. Every colony contributed. Every skill counted. Humanity was ready, not just to defend themselves, but to prove their strength to the galaxy. When the Council fleet entered the Trask Rift, they were confident. Their ships were powerful, their formations perfect. They expected humans to scatter, to hide, to be weak. But humans had anticipated this. Mines were hidden among asteroids. Energy nets were set in place to trap ships, and fighters waited in shadows. The humans had learned to use the environment as a weapon. The battle began with precision. Council scouts were the first to fall, caught in energy nets and detonated mines. Confusion spread through the fleet as the humans struck from unexpected angles. Alex's command ship moved among the chaos, directing strikes, coordinating attacks, and ensuring every human ship acted as part of a single force. Kate's fighters danced through the asteroid field, dodging lasers and debris. Each shot was calculated, each movement timed perfectly. Mara led a squadron of assault ships, using the rift to shield themselves while striking Council cruisers' weak points. Leela monitored communications, intercepting Council signals and feeding intelligence to Alex in real time. Despite their superior numbers, the Council fleet struggled. Their formations broke under the humans' unconventional tactics. Their cruisers were damaged by hidden mines, their destroyers overwhelmed by coordinated fighter attacks. The humans had turned the Trask Rift into a trap, a weapon that exploited Council overconfidence and rigid strategies. After hours of battle, the Council was forced to retreat. Ships limped away, shields damaged, weapons offline, and morale shaken. The humans had not only survived, they had won. On Vesper Prime, celebrations erupted across the colonies. Messages were sent from one world to another, telling of the victory. Humans who had doubted the alliance now saw its strength. The Fringe colonies were no longer isolated. They were united, formidable, and capable of defending themselves against even the most powerful forces in the galaxy. Alex stood on the observation deck of his command ship, watching the stars where the Council fleet had disappeared. Mara joined him, her expression a mix of relief and determination. "They will not forget this," she said. "The Council will come again, bigger and stronger." Alex nodded. "Let them come. We are ready. We have learned to fight together, to use every advantage, and to protect each other. This is only the beginning. The Council may have fleets, but they do not have our unity. They do not have our spirit." In the following weeks, humans repaired damaged ships, reinforced hidden bases, and trained new recruits. Engineers like Logan Price worked tirelessly, creating new weapons and defenses. Pilots practiced night maneuvers and hit-and-run tactics. Scientists shared discoveries that improved shields, energy systems, and communication networks. Humanity was not just recovering, they were growing stronger. Meanwhile, the council convened again. High Chancellor Vera was furious. They have not only survived, they have defeated our fleet in a direct confrontation. How is this possible? Tharok rumbled. Humans are clever, unpredictable, and adaptable. They fight differently than any species we have encountered. Our strategies fail because they do not follow the rules we expect. We underestimated them. Vera's eyes narrowed. Then we must adapt. We cannot let them continue. We will send a larger fleet, more advanced ships, and eliminate them once and for all. Humanity must learn that exile is final. But even as the Council prepared their next strike, humans continued to grow stronger. New colonies joined the alliance, inspired by the victory at the Trask Rift. Pilots from distant moons trained under veterans. Engineers repaired ancient ships and upgraded their technology. Scientists discovered ways to improve energy weapons, shields, and propulsion systems. Humanity's power was no longer hidden. It was becoming a force the Council could not ignore. One night, Alex gathered his closest advisors on Vesper Prime. "The Council will return," he said quietly, "and they will come with everything they have, but we are not afraid. We have grown stronger. We have learned to fight as one, and we will not retreat. We will protect the Fringe, and we will show the galaxy that humans cannot be exiled, ignored, or broken." Mara nodded. "We fight smart, not reckless. We use the terrain, our knowledge, and our unity. That is our advantage," Kate smiled. "And we have the best pilots, soldiers, and engineers working together. The Council may have numbers, but we have skill and heart," Leela added. "And we have the trust of every colony we visit. That counts for more than they realize." Alex looked out at the stars, his mind calm but focused. The Council had underestimated humans at every step. They had assumed exile would scatter, weaken, and silence them. But humans had united the Fringe, built fleets, and learned to fight in ways the Council did not expect. When the Council returned, they would face a force stronger than they imagined. Humanity was no longer scattered. Humanity was a network, a fleet, and a people united. They were not just surviving, they were preparing to rise. And Alex knew that the next battle would not be just for survival. It would be a message to the Council and the galaxy. Humans were not weak, they were not scattered, and they could not be ignored. Exile had made them stronger. It had forced them to unite, to innovate, and to discover what it truly meant to be human. As the stars twinkled above Vesper Prime, Alex felt a quiet determination. The Council could send their fleets, their weapons, and their rules. But humans had something no Council ship could match: unity, courage, and the will to survive together. The Fringe was no longer a place of exile. It was a place of power, and humanity would show the galaxy that the exiled could rise. The Council had grown uneasy. Their fleets had been challenged and outmaneuvered, their strategies broken by humans they had called weak and disorganized. Every report from the Fringe colonies told the same story. Humans were no longer scattered exiles. They were united, strong, and growing bolder with every passing day. High Chancellor Vera slammed her clawed hand against the Council table. "Enough," she said. "They must be destroyed. Send the entire armada. No more caution, no more warnings. Humanity will be crushed and the Fringe reclaimed. Make it so." The Council agreed, voting without hesitation. Ships from all corners of their empire were summoned. Cruisers, battleships, carriers, and dozens of specialized assault ships formed a massive armada that dwarfed anything humans had ever faced. They were confident. They had numbers, experience, and advanced technology. They believed the humans were dangerous but still predictable. Alex Harper watched the incoming data from his command ship orbiting above Vesper Prime. "They're coming," he said, calm but firm. "All of them, every ship they can spare, and they think this will scare us." Mara Field shook her head, her eyes narrowing at the massive fleet on the sensors. "They have more firepower than we've ever faced. hundreds of ships. How can we survive this? Alex turned to her. We survive because we fight smart, because we fight together. Because we have something they cannot measure: unity, creativity, and the will to survive. They may have numbers, but they do not understand humans. Kate Miller checked her fighter squad. We've trained every pilot, every soldier, every engineer. Every colony has contributed. We're ready, maybe not for a fair fight, but we never fight fair. Alex nodded. Exactly, we will use the Fringe. Every asteroid, every moon, every nebula. They will not know where we are. They will not expect our tactics. And when we strike, it will be decisive. The humans deployed across the outer systems. Scouts flew ahead, sending false signals and creating the illusion of weak targets. Hidden bases were reinforced, and ambush points were established in dense asteroid fields and narrow canyons of desolate moons. The human fleet was smaller, but it was coordinated, disciplined, and ready to exploit every Council weakness. The Council fleet entered human-controlled space, confident in their superiority. They believed the humans would scatter or surrender. But they had underestimated the humans once too many times. The first contact was sudden. A Council cruiser was disabled by hidden energy nets. Mines detonated among asteroids, crippling 2 destroyers before they could react. Human fighters emerged from shadows, striking with precision. The Council ships, massive and powerful, struggled to adapt. Their numbers were useless in the chaos of the terrain and the unpredictability of human tactics. Alex directed his fleet from the command ship, every decision measured and calculated. "Strike left," he ordered. "Cover the rear. Protect the civilians on the moons. Focus fire on the lead destroyer." Kate maneuvered her fighter squad through the asteroid field, weaving between debris and Council fire. "Lead destroyer is targeted. Engaging now," she reported. Mara led assault ships that flanked the Council's cruisers. Her team struck weak points, targeting engines, weapons, and shields simultaneously. Each hit was coordinated, precise, and devastating. Leela Grant monitored communications, intercepting Council messages and sending false orders to confuse their fleet. The Council ships were fighting shadows, reacting to threats that seemed everywhere but nowhere. Despite their superior technology, the Council forces began to falter. Their formations broke, shields failed, and morale dropped. The humans had turned the battlefield into a trap, using strategy, terrain, and ingenuity to their advantage. After hours of battle, the Council realized they were losing. Ships retreated, many damaged, some destroyed. The human fleet had survived, had struck decisive blows, and had proven that exile had not weakened them. It had made them stronger. On Vesper Prime, celebrations erupted across the colonies. Humans who had once doubted the alliance now believed in it completely. Messages were sent to every settlement, telling of the victory. The Fringe was no longer a place of hiding or survival. It was a stronghold, a united network, and a symbol of human resilience. Alex met with Mara, Kate, and Leela on the observation deck of the command ship. "This is just the beginning," he said, looking at the stars where the Council fleet had fled. "They will come again. They will bring more ships, more weapons, and more firepower, but we are ready. We will not hide. We will not retreat. We will show them the true power of united humanity." Mara nodded. "Every colony is contributing. Every pilot, every engineer, every soldier is trained and ready. We can face them again." Kate smiled. "And we've learned from every engagement. The Council may have numbers, but we have skill, heart, and unity. They cannot predict what we do next." Leela added, "And more colonies are joining every day. The Fringe is growing stronger, and the Council is running out of time to act before humanity becomes unstoppable." As the human fleet repaired and reorganized, Alex considered the Council's mistakes. They had exiled humanity, believing it would scatter, weaken, and fail. They had underestimated the human ability to adapt, to unite, and to survive against impossible odds. Exile had forced humans to grow stronger, to trust one another, and to develop tactics that no other species could match. One day, scouts reported movement from the Council. A fleet was approaching, larger and more powerful than any humans had faced before. Alex gathered his advisors. "This will be the true test," he said. "We will face their full force, and we will show them that humans are not to be ignored. We will protect the Fringe, and we will rise stronger than ever." The battle began near the outer edge of the Fringe, in a system of dense asteroid belts and small moons. Humans had prepared carefully, placing hidden mines, ambush points, and traps in every possible location. Every ship, soldier, and pilot knew their role. The Council fleet, confident and powerful, entered the system expecting an easy victory. The fight was fierce. Council ships fired with all their might, but human tactics were unpredictable. Fighters darted in and out of asteroids, assault ships struck weak points, and mines detonated in perfect timing. Energy weapons struck Council shields where they were weakest, and every move of the humans was coordinated as if they were a single organism. Despite their superior numbers, the Council could not adapt. Their ships were damaged, engines crippled, and morale shattered. The humans had turned their knowledge of strategy, terrain, and ingenuity into a weapon that Council fleets could not counter. Hours later, the battle ended. The Council fleet was forced to retreat. Ships fled in disarray, damaged and demoralized. Humans had not only survived, they had won decisively. Alex stood on the observation deck, looking at the stars where the Council ships had disappeared. Mara joined him, her expression serious but proud. "They will not forget this," she said. "The Council has learned that humans are not weak, not scattered, and not easy to control." Alex nodded. "They will come again, but we are ready. We have grown stronger, smarter, and more united. The Fringe is no longer a place of exile. It is a place of power, and humanity will show the galaxy that we cannot be ignored." In the following weeks, humans repaired damaged ships, trained new pilots, and strengthened hidden bases. Engineers worked tirelessly, upgrading weapons and defenses. Colonies shared knowledge and resources, building a network that no Council fleet could easily break. Humanity's influence over the Fringe grew with every success. Scouts reported that distant systems, previously neutral or hesitant, were joining the alliance. The story of human victory spread, inspiring fear among Council forces and hope among exiled colonies. The humans of the Fringe were no longer scattered, weak, or powerless. They were united, skilled, and ready for anything. Alex met with his closest advisors one final time before the Council could respond again. "We have proven that exile cannot break us," he said. "We have united the Fringe, built fleets, trained soldiers, and coordinated every colony. The Council may have numbers, but they cannot match our unity. Humanity has risen, and the galaxy will know it." Mara smiled. "The Council may bring their fleets again, but we will fight, adapt, and survive. We have learned to rely on each other. That is our strength." Kate nodded. "And we have skill, courage, and heart. We are ready for whatever they send." Leela added, "And the colonies are with us. Every settlement, every ship, every person who joins the alliance is part of a force they cannot control." Alex looked out at the stars, calm but determined. The Council had exiled humanity, believing it would scatter and fail. They had been wrong. Exile had made humans stronger, forced them to unite, and taught them to survive against impossible odds. Now, humanity was no longer weak, no longer isolated, and no longer ignored. The Fringe was theirs, a network of strength and unity that no Council fleet could easily challenge. Humans had risen, and the galaxy had been forced to notice. Alex smiled faintly, feeling the fire of determination in his chest. The Council had underestimated humanity, and they would continue to do so at their peril. The Exiled had become powerful, united, and unstoppable. And as the stars shimmered above the Fringe, Alex knew one thing with certainty. Humanity had not just survived exile. They had risen to claim their place in the galaxy, stronger than ever before.